Won't you turn your Bible, if you would, to Genesis chapter 30. Genesis chapter 30. Just for a moment. God's time. God's time. God's time is always the right time. Finally, God remembered Rachel. He answered her prayer by giving her a son. And God had taken away my disgrace, she said. She named him Joseph. May he add. And said, may the Lord add to me another son. God's time. In the day in which we live, we are in a different place and space and time. Rachel's time, there in Genesis, a woman's desire was to be a mother. In fact, everything about Rachel wanted to be a mother. Rachel looked at life as her worth, her value, that if I could give my husband a child. The journey that Rachel had was a journey that was totally different from the way that the world is looked upon today. It's a journey whereby her husband had journeyed into her city, her country. Jacob was his name, and he came there and hired himself out to Rachel's father. The story goes that he made a life there as, first of all, a servant. That he was served for 7 years. After seeing her, and didn't have anything to trade or as a diary for her, nothing other than himself. He made a deal with her father that he would work 7 years. Because she was a beautiful woman. And 7 years is a long time. That's 365 plus leap year times 7. That's a lot of days watching your future wife walk across the field. That's a lot of days of waiting patiently for that one day to come. Needless to say that he should have read the manual. The manual of that particular country was that the oldest daughter had to marry first. The deal was made that he would marry one of Laman's daughters, as far as Laman concerned, in fine print. And in 7 years later, he thought that the time had come of watching Rachel be his fiancée, his ex-spouse, the one he's waiting for, had come. And then on their wedding night, there was always a feast. Laman helped to get him intoxicated and with joy, wine, strong drink, and sent his daughter in to him. after sending his daughter in to him, he went unto her, and he found out the next day that he should have read the fine print. This is not a message of don't get under the influence, but I give you a clause of read the fine print. Because the next day after going unto Leah, the oldest daughter, which was not Rachel, he found out he had made a grave mistake. Because now he had sealed the marriage by breaking her matrix and she becoming his wife. Not Rachel, but Leah. Like any good man who had a night of influence, went to his father-in-law, which was the one who had made the deal with him, and began to complain that I made the deal with you for Rachel. And I wake up in the morning and I find out that it's Leah. Laman began to let him know, and this is not one of those messages where we talk just about Laman and Jacob and Leah, but we got to bring the picture to where it is today. Laman began to inform him that in our country, before the younger daughter can get married, the older daughter had to be married first. And he found that he was in a situation that he couldn't get out of. You ever been in a situation where you were in too deep? You had drifted out too far. The road back was a little bit too long. The night spent cost you more than what you thought it would have cost. And now he's with a woman in whom he was not interested in. And needless to say, that happens a whole lot of times in relationships. People date individuals whom they have no intention of marrying. They have nights of contact only because it was just a feeling. And find out later that they're connected for life. Because Leah conceived. And now we have a marriage whereby a contract is made, it's been agreed upon, and now it's sealed because they've come together. And so now what Jacob decided he would do was, I'll work another 7 years. If that's the case for Rachel. Well, Laman being the man that he was, he just said, all right. Because I want you to understand there were some real benefits that came with Jacob. God was with Jacob. And the benefits that came with Jacob was the fact that whatever Jacob did, God blessed it. In fact, when he showed up at Laman's house, Laman had a few flock, few sheep. And by him being there, God blessed Laman's house, and he now got a multitude of flock. It was a good idea to keep him around. I want you to understand that when God is with you, he's more than the whole world against you. Things may not be going the way that you feel like they should, but the people around you are being blessed. I want you to understand sometimes the reason why we're blessed is because God has opened up the windows of heaven and poured out on one of his soldiers, and we just happen to be standing close by. Because he told us in his word that he would open up the windows of heaven and pour us out blessings that we wouldn't have room enough to receive. Before Jacob went into this land, he had already had a conversation with God. It's always good to have a conversation with God. And in his conversation with God was, he went to sleep and laid his head on a rock, went into a deep dream, vision. And what he seen was like a ladder. Angels coming down and going up into heaven. He woke up the next morning and he began to say within himself and to God was, I know that I'm in a blessed place. No matter what my circumstances are, I know that I'm in a blessed place. No matter how I got to where I am, I know I'm in a blessed place. I'm out here all by myself and I don't have anything at all, but I know I'm in a blessed place. He blessed that place and he began to let God know that if you allow me to come back to this place, I'm going to pay my tithes, my offerings at this place. He made a deal with God and God agreed with him that he would be blessed. So it appeared that he was nothing and had nothing. It appeared that he needed Laman. But in reality, Laman needed him. It appeared that he was all by himself. But in reality, God was with him. And so now here it is. He's in a situation though. He's already worked 7 years. Now he's under contract for 7 more years. During this time, Leah is having children. 7 years later, he gets Rachel. And after getting Rachel, he finds that Rachel is barren and can't have children. He finds that the lady of his life, the hope and dream that he'd been dreaming of, she's barren and she can't have children. Now, that didn't just bother him. I want you to understand, that bothered her. In fact, she began to blame him for not being able to have any children. She began to tell him to give me a child. And he got angry with her and began to let her know, I read the beginning of the chapter, began to let her know that am I God that can open up your womb? See, the thing I want you to understand is that when God sets a time, God's time and our time is 2 different times. God's ways and our ways are 2 different ways. It's not as I will, but as he wills in me. I want you to say, not that I do, but God that worketh in me does. Here we find that after going through all this barren time, she decided that she would give her servant to him because she couldn't have any children. She gave her servant to him, and her servant went unto him, and she became his wife as well. And she bare him a child. After she had conceived and conceiving, she bare him a child and named him Dan. And then he went unto her again, and she conceived again, and he called him Nephilim. See, I want to understand that it wasn't that anything was wrong with Jacob. It wasn't God's time. So many times we try to work out our situation the way that we feel it should work out. So many times we feel like our time should be already have come, but it's all in God's time. It's not our time. Sometimes we feel like our life is spinning away. I should be married by now. I should have children by now. My life should be further ahead than what it is. I should have more than what I have. But it's all in God's time. She tried to work the situation out on her own. Her sister Leah was noticing what was going on. She already had 4 children, but 4 boys. But what she seen was that Rachel was now allowing Jacob to go into her handmaiden. So she supplied her handmaiden. Now you got 2 sisters going at each other. Jacob went into Leah's handmaiden and had also children by her. I want you to understand that as she went into her, he went into her handmaidens, and she became pregnant. I want you to understand her situation, I'm talking about Rachel's, wasn't getting any better. The more she tried to help herself, the worse off she got. The more she tried to change her situation, the more her situation began to get worse and worse. But I want you to understand that it was all a part of God's plan. It was God's plan for Jacob to have that many sons. It was God's plans for Jacob to go through what he was going through with. But Rachel didn't have what we got. We can see how Rachel's life starts, and we can also see how Rachel's life ends. And we can go to the middle of Rachel's life, and we can make decisions on how we would have worked it out differently. But I want you to understand that all of us are victims of bad decisions. And so now what we have is, I want you to understand that she went one day as Leah's son, Reuben, was out in the field gathering grain. He ran upon some mandolin. Now, I want you to say what this is an herb, a root that you can actually take, eat, drink, and it's supposed to make you fertile. And so once Reuben came and gave this mandolin to his mother Leah, and now Rachel finds out about it. She makes a deal with Leah. Give me the mandolin. And watch this. Here's what Leah told her. Said, look, now I ain't no fool. You already got my husband. Y'all need, I have to get ghetto with this one. Y'all getting, you already got my husband. And now you want to take my mandolin as well. Because she understood what Rachel was trying to do. The woman who had an issue, as the Bible talks about, she had an issue for 12 long years. Going in the New Testament now. And said that she had gone to all the doctors that she could. She had spent all the money that she had. And rather than her situation getting better, her situation got worse. I want you to understand here, Rachel is. She's already tried to manipulate the situation by allowing her handmaidens to go into her husband. She tried to manipulate the situation by trying to have her handmaidens produce a child for her. In fact, because she was her handmaiden, the children that her handmaiden had were her children. And she called them hers. And so she tried to do something that God was waiting to do. So many times we're not waiting on God. We're trying to move out and do things on our own. And one thing I want to understand is the more we try to do things on our own, the worse off our situation. You don't leave God out. So Leah made the deal with her to trade off the root. But the deal was, rather than Jacob going home to you tonight, I'll trade off, but Jacob got to come to my house. Because she was so desperate. Sometimes we get in a situation we want to get ahead of God and we become so desperate. God, go like this. God wanted to bless you with the house, but you got so desperate. God wanted to bless you with the job, but you got so desperate. God wants you to have a relationship, but you got so desperate. Till you start to move out in front of God. So Jacob went to Leah's house and slept with Leah. And Leah became pregnant again. Now she's on her fifth child. This fifth child, Gad, now she is, the trade-off was she got the root that didn't work, sent the love of her life into somebody else's bedroom, and they got pregnant again. Because you're trying to, watch this, God has already worked it out while you're trying to figure it out. While you're trying to make it work, God has already worked it out. And now we find that rather than having 4 sons, she now have 5 sons. And watch this, the root didn't work, she didn't get pregnant. But her sister not only did have Gad, but she got pregnant again and had Asher. Now she has 6 sons. Wow. You notice how, watch this, in a hole digging, trying to get out, trying to help yourself out, but making everything that much worse. And we find that now that she's in a situation where her life is changing. Her life has become different. The handmaidens have given her sons, Gad and Asher. And now she's after eating the margarine, we find that she has 2 more sons, which makes 6. And not only after that, she has a daughter, which gave her 7 children. And Leah is now in a situation whereby she has her husband's interest, and she got all these 7 children. But now Rachel is in a situation where she has no children, but she had the husband's interest. And so what God did was, in God's own time, what God did was, God began to bless Rachel. So I want you to understand that when God began to bless Rachel, Rachel's name itself is just you. The meaning of it is just you. Now what a ewe is a lamb. A female lamb. A ewe. I want you to understand that you may have missed it. Well, let me make it a little bit clear. We are a female lamb. The church is a lamb. And watch this. And what they're saying is that we have the possibility of being productive. We have the possibility of reproducing. But we have to wait on God's time to reproduce. Rachel's name, you, is just a sheep, a lamb. Now because she is who she was made to be, God is now in the process of blessing her to become who she was designed to become. She went into her husband, and God remembered her. And when she went into her husband, God opened up her wombs. And when God opened up her wombs, I understand, she conceived a child. After all that time, and after all that effort, and after all that thought, and after all that prayer, God opens up her womb and gives her a child and calls him Joseph. Add, or to add to, he shall add. In other words, even though Joseph was one, what God was saying to her, that he was going to multiply. And the multiplication that he was going to multiply was going to be in a way of be fruitful, watch this, in helping other people out and making things that you have multiply. So many times I want you to understand, don't you understand that God is about multiplication? In the world in which we live in today, we live in a world whereby women don't want to have children. That's not multiplying. We live in a world whereby we would rather have a career than to have children. We live in a world where we would rather get involved in different other things than to have children. We live in a world where we would rather have dogs, cats, or goldfish than to have children. We live in a world whereby we begin to call dogs our children and grandchildren. And we live in a world whereby we would rather have pets than to have children. We live in a world where we find that having a career and having children or having a family don't match. That's right. Ooh. But see, watch this. But watch this. Who can find a virtuous woman? If you read Proverbs 31, you'll find that this woman worked all the time. You'll find that her labor was for her family to be blessed. In other words, she was more productive, watch this, making her family able to be productive than she was, watch this, trying to be productive for herself. The Bible talks about how she got up early in the morning, stayed up late at night. The Bible talks about how she would meet the merchant ships. The Bible talks about how she made her husband well dressed. The Bible talks about how all of her children would call her blessed. Wow.
What an incredible message from our man of God here at Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church. Now's the time where we can all participate by giving. You can use our PayPal link on our website, www.3mbc.org, or www.facebook.com/MMMBC. We look forward to seeing you here on the Mount. God bless.